Wits, they were like, doo 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 doo. This place is literally so noisy. I can never get through a video. Why is it like this? Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Cheryl. If you're new, welcome to the C Squad. Over here we do beauty, fashion, lifestyle, vlogs, and a bunch of university content. So if you like the sound of that, then hit the subscribe button below. Follow me on Instagram and join the fam. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining me again. So today I'm going to be telling you guys about the differences between universities in South Africa and the UK. Mainly differences between the University of Sussex and the University of the Witwatersrand, because those are the only two universities I've been to in either country. So I feel like I say this all the time, but in case you are new, hi, I'm Cheryl, and I used to go to the University of the Witwatersrand for my first year and half of my second year, and then I transferred to Sussex University in the UK, and I've been here for a year. Well, been there for a year. I'm back home in South Africa, but I think we're clear on that. So I would just like to say a special thanks and a shout out to the new people on here, guys, because we hit 600 subscribers. So thank you once again. We're on the road to 700 subscribers. Oh my gosh, so exciting. And also, I changed my hair. I used to have bangs, now I don't. So yeah, that's also really nice. I'm keeping it short. I like the short hairstyle at the moment, so that's what I'm doing. But let's get right into it. So one of the biggest differences between universities in South Africa and universities in the UK is their semesters and when their semesters happen. So I think it's pretty well known, but I'm just going to clarify. In South Africa, your first semester is between February and about June, and then your second semester is from about June to November. Whereas in the UK, your first semester is from September until December, and then your second semester is January to end of May, June-ish. So yeah, that is one of like the biggest kind of changes. And if you're looking to transfer universities, you basically won't be able to finish your year at your university, because if you're in South Africa and you start university in February and then you have to go to the UK in September, you never end up finishing that year. Another major difference that I noticed was with the registration process. Now, I'm an international student in South Africa or in the UK or whatever. So when I did my registration for Wits, I know a lot of other people who are locals were able to do this online, but I had to do mine in person, which took forever. It was the longest thing that I've ever had to do. I think we spent the whole morning there. It must have been like 4 hours, and we had to literally go back and forth because we had to go to East Campus, and then they would send us to West Campus to speak to my faculty, and then they would send us back to East Campus, and then we'd have to go back to West Campus. It was such a nightmare. And then on top of that, you then have to stand in a long line and wait for them to do your ID. Like, it was just missions. Another thing is that when you're an international student, I don't know if this is just at Wits or with all universities, but at Wits, you have to pay 75% of your fees up front, whereas in the UK, or at my university specifically, you don't have to pay it up front, you can just pay it in installments. At the University of Sussex, most of my registration happened online, so I was literally able to do all of my information and my courses and the payment and my accommodation, like everything was done online. The only thing I had to do was when I actually got to the UK, I had to go and like finish up the last part of my registration, which was picking up my ID, my student ID, and picking up my BRP, which is a biometric residence permit. It basically is a document that says that I'm allowed to be in the UK. So that's the only part that I couldn't do, obviously, online. And what I really liked about the registration process with University of Sussex is that I was able to upload a photo of myself online, and then obviously that photo had to be approved, and that is the photo that they used for my student ID. So unlike at Wits, where you literally have to stand like in a line and then you go in and you take your photo, then you have to wait for them to process it like at the University of Sussex, it was literally all online, so it was really convenient. Another big difference I would say is the size of the campuses. So I have a lot of friends who've gone to study like in the US, in Australia, Dubai, and I've seen that their campuses are just bigger. Like Wits' campus is actually pretty small when you look at the grand scheme of things. I would say like University of Sussex's campus is quite big, and most UK universities are also quite big like that. The next thing is your student ID. I find at Wits that you like need your student ID on you every single day, or at least I did, because you don't have access to the labs if you don't have your student ID. You can't go into the library. You can't even get into campus because you need like the biometric scanner thing so that you can go into campus, and you need your card for that. So you literally need your student ID for everything. Whereas at Sussex, you really hardly ever use, or I hardly ever use my student ID. The only thing I use it for is to go to the library, and I think I've been to the library like 3 times. I personally don't like the library. You will never find me in the library. But yeah, so that's literally the only thing I use it for. And then the other thing I use it for is when I go to co-op and they want to check my age if I'm buying alcohol, that's when I use my student ID. But other than that, I really don't use it. And that's another thing, on my student ID, it has my birthday on it, and my Wits ID didn't have my birthday on it. It actually has a lot of information about you, whereas Wits was just like your photo and your student ID, like your student number. Interesting. And that leads me into my next point. I find it interesting that at Wits you're not allowed in certain places. Like when you try and swipe your card, like they reject you from some places, and I'm like, but dog, I'm paying a lot of money for school fees. Should I not be allowed everywhere? Like, it's interesting to me how, like, if I have friends who are doing humanities and stuff, they can't get into the computer labs on West Campus. Unless that's changed, but that's how it was when I was at Wits. And yeah, I find that very interesting. At the University of Sussex, you don't really have that where you try and swipe your card and it's like access denied. Like, you're kind of allowed to go anywhere, or at least I've never had to I've never been rejected from going in somewhere. The next thing is libraries. At Wits, there are like 7, 9 libraries. I really don't remember the number, but there are a lot of libraries, and they're separated by like different faculties and different subjects. Like you have the geomaths library, which I believe has like geography and math subjects in it, and then you have like another library for like humanities and English and all that stuff. It's very interesting. At Sussex, we just have one library. It's just one huge library with everything. I have not even explored the library because once again, that's not my place. But yeah, that's also like another interesting thing that I find that's different. The next thing is your assessments and how they kind of test you. In South Africa, I find that they do more of like a testing basis where you actually go like into Flower Hall or Hall 29 and you actually sit down and you write a test, and then you write your exam at the end of the semester. And sometimes like you have assignments here and there, but I didn't really have a lot of assignments. But once again, I do computer science, so that's probably why. Whereas at the University of Sussex and most UK universities, you do like coursework, which is like kind of like assignments, but it's like a lot I would say it's a lot harder and a lot more intense. And yeah, so you do like these coursework things, so you do like maybe 2 of them, and then you write an exam at the end of the semester, which is kind of like a struggle for me because I feel like you don't get the opportunity to practice, if you get what I mean. Like if you're at Wits and you write 2 tests, like let's say you're doing maths and you write 2 tests on them in the semester, then you've kind of been able to see how they question you, practice it, see what you're getting wrong, so that when you get into the exam, you don't like make the same mistakes. Whereas at University of Sussex, you don't actually get the opportunity to write a test. So when you get into the exam and they're asking questions, like that's the first time that you see how they're testing you. And yeah, they are past papers and stuff, but most of them don't have answers and all that stuff. So it's a little bit of a struggle. So that's one thing that I find is different. The next thing is the grading system. So at Wits, you pretty much go on like an A, B, C, D, F basis. So 75 and above is an A, 70 to 74 is a B, 60 to 69 is a C, so on and so forth. Whereas in the UK, they do it differently. So if you have 70 and above, that is called a first. And then if you have 60 to 69, that's a 2-1. 50 to 59, that's a 2-2. It's very interesting. So yeah, but most people obviously aim to like a first and a 2-1. The next thing is parking. So at Wits, I think a lot of people are commuters, so that's why they have like parking spots and all that stuff. Don't even get me started on parking at Wits. So there is parking available on campus, whereas at my university at Sussex, there is no parking for students unless you have like a disability or some like real reason why you need parking. There is no parking for you, but I think that's mostly because in the UK, public transport is such a huge thing, and a lot of people just do public transport. So even if you're living in Brighton, you know, you probably are going to be taking the bus. And I don't even think in the UK, like getting your license is that big a deal because the public transport system is so good. Now for the timetables. This was such like a happy surprise for me when I got to University of Sussex. At Wits, literally, especially in the first year, you are busy all the time. I remember in first year, on Tuesdays, I would have back-to-back classes from 8 until 5 p.m, guys. Like literally the only break I had was lunchtime. Like that's insane. That's not normal. That shouldn't be a thing. Like I'm not a working person. Why am I in class that long in a day? It's crazy. Like you spend so much time in tutorials, in labs, in lectures, like it's insane. Whereas at the University of Sussex, you can actually just have one class in a day. Or like 2. I've had maximum 3 classes in a day that were maybe like an hour each, so it's not even like that long. I'm spending half the time that I used to spend at Wits in class at Sussex. However, it is a double-edged sword because when I spent so much time in my classes at Wits, I had less homework to do when I got home. So let's say for example, I had labs. Since I'm a computer science student, so I would go to the labs, and our labs were on Thursdays from 2:15 until 5. So that's almost 3 hours of having labs. So yeah, I wouldn't maybe finish all the work, but I could finish a huge chunk of it and then just finish the rest at home. Whereas at Sussex, your lab is probably like an hour and there's not really much you can get done in an hour. So I do spend a lot of my weekends in the labs. I'll be there on like a Friday night or early Sunday morning and I'll just be working. I feel like I should do a video on what it's really like being a computer science student because it's hard out here. It is hard. So let me know if you guys want to see that video. But yeah, another thing that I forgot to mention, I find it very interesting that at Wits, they have a lunch period that like from 1:15 to 2:15, everybody's on break. And I think that is a horrible system. I hate it because when everybody's off at the same time, everybody's going to get food at the same time. So the lines are just ridiculous and it's just like, it's just not grand. And I get it's nice if you have like a friend in a different course, so at least you guys know you can see each other at lunchtime, but I just don't think it's really like helpful, especially when like in first year, the only nice day I had, I believe, was Monday, and I would finish at 1:15, and that's the beginning of lunch. And the amount of people that would be leaving at 1:15 was insane. You could literally be stuck in traffic inside the university for like 30 minutes waiting to get out. It was ridiculous. So yeah, that's also another interesting thing. Like we don't have a lunch period at Sussex. Like you just have your classes when you have them and then you just don't when you don't. The next thing is accommodation. So I can't speak too much about accommodation in South African universities because I never stayed in res when I was there. But I will say just based off of when I was applying to universities and I was looking at what they offer, I kind of got a sense of like what the accommodation was like. So I've seen that in some accommodation, like first years have to share rooms. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe when I was looking at like some universities in South Africa that they were like situations where you'd have to have a roommate, and that is like totally unheard of in the UK. Like I literally cannot think of one university that has like a room sharing system. Like everyone has like their own rooms. I think it's because British people are like so like private and stuff, which yeah, like I just feel like it would be very uncomfortable to like share a space with somebody. Another thing is en-suites. I don't think any of the reses at Wits have en-suites. If they do, correct me. But yeah, en-suites are pretty common in the UK. There's some universities that literally only have en-suites in their accommodations and don't have shared bathrooms at all. And if it is shared, it's maybe shared with like 2 or 3 people. It's not usually a floor. I shared a bathroom with 11 people, but that is not the norm. It's because I was staying in an accommodation that is pretty much like a very old accommodation, but a lot of the newer stuff that they're building, they're even bulldozing the accommodation that I used to stay in. So a lot of the newer accommodation is just like en suites and stuff. Another thing is that res at University of Sussex is really only for first years. Like, it's very rare that a second year will stay on campus, just because they try and prioritize first years to stay on campus. But I find it fits that I had friends who were in second year that were staying on campus, so that's also another difference. Then as far as international students goes, I absolutely love the fact that University of Sussex is so diverse, and a lot of British universities are like this, and I guess it's because a lot of people from outside the UK do want to study in the UK, whether they're from the EU or whether they're from America or, you know, Africa and all that stuff. So there are a lot of international students. Specifically at Sussex, 39% of the students are international, which is insane, and I absolutely love it because you're always meeting someone who's from another country, and it's really nice because, you know, when you're getting used to maybe British culture and you're having a like culture shock and stuff, there are always people there who like understand like your struggle and stuff. So that's really great. And Wits, there are not as many international students. It is less than 10% according to the website that I'm looking at. I think it's 8%. And keep in mind that in that 8%, they're counting people like Cheryl, who have stayed in South Africa pretty much their entire life, but because I'm a citizen of another country, I'm regarded as an international student. But most people who are international students at Wits grew up in South Africa, so there's not like really anyone who's like from America or like from New Zealand or something. It's just like, it's really mainly like Southern African people who are at Wits, which I guess is cool because I guess you're around more people that are similar to you. But I do like the diversity of University of Sussex. The next thing is lectures and online support. So my lectures at University of Sussex I really appreciate, because if you're like sick and you're not feeling well or you're hungover, you don't have to go to all your lectures because they're all recorded for you, which is like it's so great. Like, even if you're going through stuff before an exam and you like want to go back to your lectures, like you can rewatch them and see what they were saying. At Wits, none of the lectures are recorded. Like, you literally have to be in every lecture. Now I will say, like, if you're doing subjects like psychology, like when I did psychology in first year, it wasn't really necessary for me to be there because they would upload all the slides online, and also I would have a textbook, so I could kind of like figure things out that way. However, I will say in my math subjects, in my computer science subjects, it was like very difficult to miss a class because in most cases teachers like didn't give us notes, or lecturers didn't actually give us notes or put anything online. And if you're like doing something like maths and you're doing examples and stuff, they don't have like the examples written out in the book. Like, you have to sit and write down the answer of those examples, if you get what I'm saying. So now if you miss the class, now you have to go to other people and be like, do you have the answers for this? Do you have the answers for that? Do you have notes for this? Do you have notes for that? And yeah, you know, like with the way that different people take different notes of what a lecturer is saying, it is very difficult. So I've never had like a case at University of Sussex where someone missed a lecture and it's coming to me and asking me, oh, what did I miss? Like, let me in or whatever on the T. Like, no one has ever asked that because everything's online. Like, the notes are online for every subject, whether it's computer science, whether it's maths. So I've never had somebody like come to me and be like, I don't have notes for this. But at Wits, it's very common to be like passing around notes and helping each other out. So then we have societies and clubs, and I will say I don't think societies and clubs are as big a deal as they are in the UK or even in America. Like, I feel like in the UK, one of the things that's like your university experience is kind of like joining societies and clubs and stuff, and so people do go to a lot of events. Maybe you're not actually like a member of the club, but you do go to different events of different clubs and stuff, whereas in South Africa it's not really like that. From what I saw, I don't know anyone that I went to Wits with that was in a society. And yeah, I didn't have like, I would say like my society experience at Wits was very different to the one I've been having at Sussex. In case you guys didn't know, I was a Wits cheerleader for a little bit. It was an experience. If you guys want a video on it, I don't really want to like put people on blast though. maybe we should just leave that topic alone. I don't know, you guys comment down below and let me know. But I will say being a cheerleader at Wits was very, very, very different to being on the cheer squad at Sussex. And yeah, I think in the UK, like with societies, it doesn't just end at, like, let's say you're part of the rugby team. It doesn't just end at you going to rugby practice and playing like rugby matches and all that stuff. Like they still have events outside of that. So for example, in the cheer squad, every Wednesday we have socials and we go to the Font, which is a bar, and we go there for like prees and to chat and all that stuff. And every week is a different theme. So you might be dressing up as superheroes that week, or Disney princesses that week, or the one that I went to right before I had to come home, we dressed up, like we switched genders. So the guys were dressing as girls and the girls were dressing as guys, and that was really fun and stuff. And then after our prees at the Font, we go to Prism. And so that's really fun, like you actually interact with people. It's not just like, oh, I go to dance practice and then that's it and I don't speak to anybody. Like you still interact with people, and it's not like that in Wits. But yeah, so those are all my differences between universities in South Africa and the UK. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to join the C Squad, and hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos. I post every Wednesday and Sunday at 5 p.m. UK time. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!